Good afternoon. My name is Chantelle Lewis, and I am the host for tonight's magnificent event. And on behalf of the steering committee, we would like to welcome everyone to the fourth annual Black Lives Matter RVA Art Show. Tonight's gathering promises to be an eventful night of art, and more art, and all for a common cause. This art show reflects the solidarity amongst artists from all races, economic status, and abilities, with artwork which was inspired by the movement, as well as the lives of Black people and Black culture. And with that being said, I would like for everyone to learn about the history of the art show directly from the founders. So if we could please welcome Ms. Jennifer Yang and Ann Wren to present the history of the art show.
Thank you, Chantelle. Thank you. I was at a friend's home late one afternoon when my friend told her 20-year-old son to make sure he was home before dark. Since her son was 20 years old, I wondered if she was being a little bit overprotective. Once he'd left, I asked her why she had told him that. She told me if he was out after dark, the police would detain him. At the time, I found it hard to believe that such a thing was happening. My white privilege had protected me. Flash forward to 2016 and 2017 when we had several people, among them Sandra Bland, Trayvon Martin, and Philando Castile, who died at the hands of law enforcement officers. I was horrified about this and wanted to do something other than writing my congresspeople. I was involved in an art exhibit, and who should come to the art exhibit except Jennifer Yang?
Thank you, Ann. In mid-November 2016, I was visiting a mutual friend of Ann's and mine, Lynn Barber Stevens, who was an amazing artist who had suffered a tragic crippling accident. So while I was visiting Lynn, I was bemoaning the election, and she asked me, well, why are you so upset? And I was surprised, and I said, it'll be terrible, horrible. And she said, well, it's always been terrible and horrible for us Black people in this country. The words woke me up, and soon after, when I went to see Ann's art opening, we found we were of like mind. And that was the birth of the first Richmond Black Lives Matter art show. It helped benefit the Black Lives Matter movement. The choice of a date and a venue seemed pretty obvious at that time because February was coming up and it was Black History Month. So that would be the perfect date. And the Unitarian Church in Richmond was a leader in racial relations. They were teaching classes to end racism in Richmond, and they were flying a Black Lives Matter banner from their church. In addition to that, they held yearly art shows. They were already prepared to do art shows. And the very capable leader of the art shows at that time happened to be my sister-in-law, Eveline Jones. Eveline helped us to present our case to the leaders of the church, and they were more than thrilled to open the church up to host the first Richmond Black Lives Matter art show. Eveline was indispensable in hanging and organizing this show and all the subsequent shows. And incidentally, her brother and my husband, Buddy Hensley, has been with us from the beginning, behind the scenes, transporting artists, hanging art, and photographing and documenting all the shows from the very beginning.
One of the wonderful perks of having this art opening was being contacted by the VCU library. They wanted to broadcast the art exhibit on their large screen outside the library. Each artist's work was enlarged hundreds of times and displayed on this jumbotron for all to see. Another plus was that all of the artists were invited to speak at Professor Richard Bargdill's psychology class at VCU. It was a night where artists spoke about their work as it was displayed for students. It was a night of dialogue and education.
First year of the show, we got a big boost from Style magazine with a 2-page spread promoting us, as we did this year too. The second year, we were invited to bring our show to Fairfax, Virginia by the Fairfax Unitarian Church, and they paid all of our expenses and honored us with a gala event featuring all the artists who wanted to share about their work. In the third year, artist Dorothy Marie Rice stepped up to organize a terrific show. What all three of these shows had in common was their wonderful First Friday opening nights. They were always abuzz with excitement and joy. These multicultural openings were a catalyst for unique, stimulating interactions amongst artists and people of all colors.
This is our 4th year, and we'd like to thank Richard Bargdill for taking the reins and organizing this year's steering committee, composed of past artists and new artists, in order to create the wonderful online exhibit you see tonight. The show will be on display until 2022.
Keep coming back and visit us often.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Jennifer and Ann, for sharing the history of this wonderful art show with us. Next, I have the pleasure of introducing the MC for the night. And as an actress, model, author, photographer, and fashion designer, Miss Daphne Maxwell Reid was born in Manhattan, New York. She has developed into one of the most admired African-American women of all time. As a model, she was the first African-American woman to grace the cover of Glamour magazine. And as an actress, her distinguished role as Aunt Viv from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air revealed her magnificent skills as an actress. And it also allowed for her to enter into our homes, thus becoming a household name. As an author, Ms. Reid has published books that include her collection of photographs and inspirations. She is the fashion designer behind Daphne Style, and her website displays her latest fashions, books, and more. Ms. Reid has worked with nonprofit organizations to include the Virginians for the Arts, Virginia Humanities, and the Petersburg Area Art League. She was on the board of visitors for Virginia State University and served on the Petersburg Library Board, which resulted in the construction of a brand new library in the city of Petersburg. I've been there, it's absolutely beautiful. Presently, she is on the board of the Child Fund Organization, the Richmond Ballet, and Culture Works. She is an inspiration to all of us, and we are so excited to have her as our MC for the night. So, without further ado, please welcome Miss Daphne Maxwell Reid.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the First Fridays and the Black Lives Matter RVA Art Show. I'm really pleased to be here to join you to share some of the fabulous work that is promulgated all over the city of Richmond and the surrounding areas. I'm really impressed with the work that I've seen, and I want to show you what's going on in Richmond when it comes to art. I'm going to start by inviting the artists to unmute their microphone once I call your name, and you will have exactly two minutes to tell me about the work, Either tell me about the medium, tell me about what inspired you, tell me something about the work that you can do in 2 minutes. So get your brain preparing that little 2-minute speech for me. We're going to have a little bell about 10 seconds before your 2 minutes is over. And at 2 minutes, I'm going to have to jump in and say, thank you. Thank you very much. And we're going to move on to the next artist. We've got over 40 artists to show you tonight, and we're really anxious to get started. Is everybody ready? We'll start with our first one. And that would be Greg Alston. Hi, Greg.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm Greg Alston. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland originally, and I'm a resident of Petersburg, Virginia. I'm an artist and a photographer. And this piece that I have before you today was done in charcoal at 18 by 24 inches. It was done for a professor who wanted a picture of Jesus Christ, but Black. And I contemplated the whole idea of how it would look. And I wrestled with myself and I said, if I draw him, it's going to look like me. So instead of me working on it, I put it on the side and I let the idea rest. And then one day when I was at a baptism, I was walking through the cultural hall and I had my head down. And when I looked up, I saw a brother at church and I said, oh my God, you're exactly what I'm looking for. I said, I'm an artist. Can I take your photo? And then I had to show him some photos, of my other artwork. And this work came about quickly. I think the idea started in about 2017, 2018. And as an artist, I just wanted to be able to find peace in this world. Growing up in Baltimore, we had our issues with police. And as I get older, I just want to leave my mark. And my mark is through my hand and my eye. I'm also a photographer.
Beautiful work. Thank you, Greg. Thank you very, very much. And it's a beautiful piece. Our next artist is Dana Bello. Did I say that right, Dana? Unmute, please. And you got 2 minutes.
Thank you so much, Ms. Reid. Good evening. My name is Dana Bello, and I'm a student at Virginia Commonwealth University. First of all, I want to thank everyone who made this art exhibit a reality. The message is so important, especially in such a divided and turbulent time. Although I'm not a person of color, I'm proud to be able to support the Black Lives Matter movement, and I'm grateful that these events can still take place. My art focuses on promoting body positivity, self-love, and self-acceptance. I work with both physical and digital platforms, using acrylic paint on canvases for more traditional pieces, as well as Procreate to create my digital art, such as this one. Like many of my pieces, I focus on expression and the colors that complement both the figure and the message. This piece accentuates the natural beauty of the Black community and the strength that so many people of color have had in the past year especially. In this piece, the woman's gaze is fierce, and because of that, I chose to use a solid, bold color in the background to make her stand out, and her face is not hidden in shadow but tilted towards light and looking directly at the audience to show her unapologetic nature. I chose to use acrylic brushstrokes to soften the piece, so a contrast exists between the strength of the woman and the gentle strokes of the brush. Furthermore, I selected yellow, the color of the sun and of hope, as the background. Because according to Amanda Gorman, there's always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. Thank you again to everyone who helped in putting this amazing art show together, especially during COVID, and I'm so honored to be a part of it.
And we thank you for joining us. It's a beautiful piece.
Thank you.
Our next artist is Richard Bargdill. What you got, Richard? There you are.
Hi, I have been painting portraits of images that involve protesters. And I picked 2 images that are very iconic. The first is Aisha Evans, who was protesting the death of Alton Sterling in Baton Rouge, Louisiana in 2016. And you may remember this photograph of her being stoically standing in the middle of the road, her dress flowing in the air, apparently doing nothing threatening, but the police charge her and take her away, and she has this sort of moment of defiance and stoic courage in front of these police charging her. The second piece that I have on the right is Bree Newsome Base taking down the Confederate flag at the South Carolina Capitol building a few days after the murder of 8 churchgoers by a white supremacist in South Carolina. So both of these pieces have a little bit of iconographic images in them, but also some random happy accidents thrown into the work, including on the right piece looking almost like a black power fist. So thank you all for being here, and especially my family who has put up with some Zooms.
Richard, what is your medium?
These are both in acrylic.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us. Our next artist is Jason E. Bennett.
Hi, am I coming through okay? I think
You are doing well.
Cool.
2 minutes.
Just thank you to everybody, Jennifer, Ann, Chantelle, Daphne, steering committee. Particularly, thank you, Miguel Carter Fisher, for inviting me to encourage me to participate in the show. So I'm Jason Bennett. I grew up out in Hanover County. I've been around Richmond since I was a kid. I left when I was 18, kind of went up and down the East Coast for work. I do art for video games, and that's actually what I got brought back recently to teach at VCU Arts. So doing drawing and video game work, but I'll do a lot of landscape painting with oils for fun, and that's basically what this is. Richmond is a beautiful place. It's a beautiful city, and there's some really special things about it. A lot of times I'll paint the river itself because I like the feeling of movement and dynamism that's there, and it's always different. And the Lee statue is one of those spots as well. It's got this just crazy resonance due to the street layout and just the physical thing itself. It's just a really powerful place, and it was amazing to see it. So this was the day that Northam had announced the removal of the statue. I went out there with my paint kit and set up and painted it on site. And there was just a huge crowd of people. People would come and go. It's such a great mix. And towards the end, as I was wrapping up, I saw this man come out there with a little kid, and the little kid had a cape on, and they just went out there and were just looking up at this statue and just seeing that change take place. It was cool. It was cool. And there's just something with with Richmond itself. There's a lot of these old artifacts there, like the blown up bridges in the river, and the old monuments have been taken down, just these pedestals now. It's a reminder to me for us to make a positive change going forward. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you, and welcome to Richmond. Next, we have Constance I'm going to say this, Borden. Did I say it right, Constance?
No, it's Constance De Borden, but thank you.
Borden, I almost got it.
Thank you.
Please, 2 minutes.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to join you all tonight, a pleasure and an honor. And I just thank you all for what you're doing. And I'm so glad to be a part of it. Last June and July, I spent time at the Marcus David Peters Circle, photographing living history. On June 12th, I observed families posing for portraits to honor those who had been victims of white oppression. I read the messages on the statue, some of anger, frustration, and hurt, and some of hope. I also noticed a garden planted in the circle, seeds planted, and some of them bearing fruit. I wanted to respond to all that I had seen by painting a portrait of a high school graduate who was there that day. I see him as a symbol of the seeds of hope amidst a country in transition. Hope that we are at the point where we are beginning to recognize the importance of each Black and Brown life, past and present, as part of the essential positive identity of our national character. hope that by our collective effort, this young man and millions of young men and women like him will go forth in our society, acknowledged and encouraged for their gifts and abilities. We must each do our part to fulfill this hope. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us, Ms. De Borden. I got it. And now will Mr. Miguel Carter Fisher please unmute your mic?
Hi, thank you. My name is Miguel Carter Fisher. I'm a figurative narrative painter who works here in Richmond, Virginia, and I'm a professor at Virginia State University down in Petersburg. The two portraits here are both relatives of mine done in oil. The one to the left is a painting of my cousin Chloe. There's not a specific narrative, or, I had no other reason for painting this at the time than simply celebrating her as an individual. The painting to the right is a portrait of my Uncle Rod just before he passed away. He was handicapped most of his life, but showed just a great deal of positivity and optimism, despite spending much of his life in pain. And I love this image of him because I felt that the pain, but the determination towards joy showed through. And I guess in a broader sense, for me, that's sort of a microcosm of what it means to be Black in America in general, is that we do suffer a lot, but there is also this history of joy and a determination towards joy. And these pieces were not done for any sort of political purposes. I'm not a political artist. I usually focus on subjects that are more intimate and personal, but I felt that their identity as individuals, that's one aspect of Black lives that should be celebrated as a part of Black Lives Matter, is that we should be celebrating, I guess, the beauty and wonder of just ordinary Black people living their life day to day. We don't, not everyone has to be a martyr or a hero to be celebrated. All Black lives matter. And
thank you. Thank you very much, Miguel, and beautiful work. Very, very beautiful work. Our next artists come in a pair. This is Miranda, Cecilia, and Sam Page. Decide how you're going to divide up your 2 minutes.
I'll start. Hi, I'm Miranda, Cecilia, and Sam and I worked on this piece. Actually, this is a process shot. The final piece is on the website. And I first want to say, my name is Miranda Cecilia. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a teaching artist in Richmond, Virginia, here with you guys. My focus is drawing and ceramics. And so this piece is done in underglaze and it's transferred onto ceramic. So it's actually on a very thin piece of casting slip. And so I talked to Sam about collaborating on this work, and we talked about really honoring the lives of female and female identifying individuals who have been impacted by police brutality, toxic masculinity, and honoring their lives, and also just making an effort to banish ignorance and shed light on where we are and where we need to go as a society. And I was really excited to work with Sam, and I would love for Sam to talk about their process now too.
Yeah, so quickly, I'm Sam Page. I mostly work with drawing and illustration, but I also make quilts. I'm an artist, I'm a teacher, stuff like that. I did the hair, the like kind of doodles that you see in the hair. I thought a lot of the work that I do is just things that 12-year-old me would think was cool. So this was kind of that same thing. And I also have this thing, especially thinking of the adorning of hair and things like that, especially for a Black person, and then just also in death, how that works. So yeah, I do these very small, really intricate doodles in things that sometimes have messages of hope, or sometimes have messages of please don't kill me because I'm Black, stuff like that. So that is what this is.
Excellent. Thank you very much. This very interesting piece. Our next artist is Jovan Cole.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jovan Cole. I am residing from New York City, and thank you so much for this opportunity. And thank you for my professor, Miguel Fisher, for allowing me to submit my artwork into this piece. So the left side is my nostalgia trip. I basically had painted a outline of Jamaica because my parents are Jamaican as well, too. So I wanted to kind of represent, my heritage and my culture with that as well, too. It was actually an assignment for my three-dimensional design class. And my teacher was like, hey, you should probably make a map of like something that means something to you. So I just thought maybe if I use my heritage and then also, the colors and just expressing my Blackness and my melanin, I wanted to combine certain elements into that piece and just try to like make something that meant something to me. And I try to add like a little bit of stars, and, also to the left-hand side of that map, you can kind of see like a little logo of because I wanted to incorporate also the music that I listen to as well too, with Tribe Called Quest, and then you have the Black Power fist as well too. And then on the right hand side, it was actually and this painting is actually an acrylic. The right hand side is also a drawing. It's a graphite paint drawing of me. It was supposed to represent tenebrism, and what I was trying to do is I was trying to paint myself into this dark room, and where like everything was kind of consuming me and everything around there. So and I wanted to make this drawing to just kind of make me feel like I'm kind of like consumed in this vast darkness where like I wanted to consume an emotion. So that's basically what I wanted to really add. So thank you again so much for allowing me to express myself during Black History Month. And I really do appreciate this opportunity once again. Thank you.
Well, keep up the good work, Jovan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next artist is Sanford Drub. Unmute, and you got 2 minutes. Is Sanford here?
I don't see him in the panelist list.
Okay. If I don't hear from him in the next 5 seconds, we'll move on to the next one, Mona Dworkin.
We do have Sanford he may be in the attendees list.
Okay.
Can we check on the attendees there?
I mean, some powerful pieces he's got here. But he's not unmuting himself.
All right. If he's in the attendee list, he might not be able to, but I'm looking for him.
How about we go to the next one, and we'll come back to Sanford if we can find him.
Okay.
Okay. The next one is Mona Dworkin.
Hi, my name is Mona Dworkin. I'm a mixed media painter here in Richmond. My paintings are about race relations and the fragility of human connections. You can see them in person at the High Point Gallery in Richmond on West Broad. Their unresolved past, which is the painting on the left, is about how Black slaves continued to suffer after emancipation. They wore their physical and emotional scars of terror and subjugation. The woman has one green eye, revealing her familiar relationship with the man who raped her mother. She looks to rewrite her history of white people inflicting their words and way of life on this couple. The small tintypes on the bottom of the painting built into her dress represent the family they worked for, forever a part of their story. White flecks from dot her face and torso, a result of scarring the surrounding painting white surface, which can't really be seen in this photo, a reminder of enduring hardship in white America. And the painting on the left is called Race, and it's about pride for one's heritage and country. It was inspired by a portrait of Jimi Hendrix, and the whitewashed background is layered with pages from a vintage dictionary, words that describe people of color. You don't need to see the words, but you know that they are there. His face is a collage made up of photos of a 1960s car race and an African mask. His afro made from rolled dictionary pages defines him. It is his strength, worn as a crown, held together with an American flag headband. Ethnic slurs are hurled at him, he will endure. He wears it as a badge of honor for those that fought for his rights before him. And that's it.
Well, thank you, Mona. The beautiful pieces.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to
Keep
be
up
included.
that great work. I love the statements that you're making.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask, have we found Sanford yet?
Yes.
Then we're going back. Sanford, unmute, please. And you've got 2 minutes to tell us about your paintings. Sanford, we're waiting.
I'm looking for him.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to move
Yeah,
on.
I got him. I got him.
Oh, now you got me.
There you. Okay.
The microphone appeared. Somebody
right.
hit me. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for doing that, and I want to thank Richard Bargdill for encouraging my participation. I'll be brief. I'm an artist and author and a criminal psychologist, and I work in a narrative representational form so that in essence, these are paintings that are, I guess, political cartoons in a Renaissance sort of style. And the one on the right is the first one that I did, and it's my reaction to the last administration and its rape of the American people through a way of mistreating all people of color. And it's called Maga denudata. The Latin phrase denudata means unveiled, and I'll let the images speak for themselves. The figure on the left, also who's in the first painting, I've called her Destina. My model, actually, that is her name, and so she inspired me. Her name is Destina Aubrey. And she is my representation of the American goddess, sort of revisioned. We usually think of Columbia as the symbol of America, but in my view, this needs to be revisioned given the changes that are occurring. And this was my hope in 2018 that she would be triumphant over time, and hopefully that is occurring. So
yes, we're going to hopefully see that witness next week.
All right.
But thank you very much, and I hope you find some more subjects to keep making these wonderful. Now that one is gone, we'll move on now to Alan Enton.
I am a psychologist and an artist, and for over 40 years, my office was at the Lee Medical Building, which is at the statue of General Lee. I chose it initially as a landmark, historical and geographic office where people could find me. Then I found out that there were all sort of life cycle celebrations held there, reenactments, bike races, Easter parade, marches, and it was the lightning rod for events in Richmond. So it came naturally that this would be the place for the lightning rod for the Black Lives Matter movement. I always wondered when I was in my office seeing people, what if instead of treating people with violence. We had mental health interventions for people who are experiencing problems like Floyd George had experienced. So when I knew that Floyd George was going to be commemorated with holographic images on the Lee Memorial, I thought I had to go out and photograph it. And my style is usually much more funky than this, but I had to celebrate this in a way that really captured the essence of the moment and the essence and emotion of the experience. So prior to the holograph, there was a service by his family, the people on the left in white. That was one of his relatives holding his picture and looking upwards towards infinity. And they were chanting as a way to enhance Mr. George's experience to the next life, next transition he was going to.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you so much, Alan. Beautiful images, and thank you for the capture.
Thank you.
Our next artist is Sierra Fountain.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sierra Fountain. I'm a sophomore at VCU Arts. My piece, Embrace Your Roots, is a mixed media oil painting. This artwork discusses the negative impacts of colorism and texturism within the Black community and society as a whole. Unfortunately, on multiple occasions, I've heard the belief that individuals born with a lighter skin complexion are considered more desirable. Also, we have all heard the statement, he or she has good hair. As a Black woman, I have all too often witnessed and experienced the detrimental effects that these mindsets can have on one's self-worth and confidence. Although these beliefs may appear harmless at first, they contribute to the grander scale of racism and prejudice. Within my artwork, the woman on the left covers her short, tightly curled hair, while the woman on the right covers her body adorned with darker skin. These poses signify the discomfort that each of these women experiences due to the unfair and unreasonable standards set forth by society. However, the kente cloth-inspired background, cowrie shells, and gold leaf allude to their prosperous African heritage and beauty. This piece encourages Black people to embrace their heritage and natural beauty and support, encourage, and advocate for one another. And taking these steps, it would bring about the necessary momentum to continue advancing the Black community. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you for everyone who has participated and attended.
Thank you, Sierra, and continue studying colorism. It's a cultural phenomenon that is very much ingrained in Black America. Our next is Mary Graham Landau.
Hi, I'm Mary Graham Landau, and I'm very pleased to be here to be able to use my collages to contribute to the anti-racism movement. I use acrylic paint on newsprint for my collages. The one on the left is called Mourning. It is a young woman grieving, I imagine, for the Black people who've been killed by police in recent years, and also for the 500-year history of subjugation of Black people in this country in all its manifestations. The second piece is called Imagination. It symbolizes the need to reimagine our society as it could be without the distortion of institutional racism. The piece also symbolizes the pool of creativity in the Black and non-Black communities that would be capable of creating a society without embedded systemic racism. I'm very honored to be here, to be part of this exhibit alongside some amazing artists.
And you are one of the amazing artists. Thank you very much, Mary. Next, we have Stella Graham Landau.
Hi, I'm Stella Graham Landau. And the two pieces that I have here are 5x7, 7x5, that are done in encaustics, which is melted wax. The piece on the left is called Untwisted. From that, you can see three figures trying to escape from a a web, literally chains, bars that have entrapped so many people of color for way too long, but even more so, the red tape, the quagmire, the twisted tales that we have been told to describe the history of our country. The piece on the right is called Pledge to Who? It is a flag. You can see stars and some stripes with a sense of sort of a cityscape underneath. Really meant to question, what does pledge mean? Who are we pledging to, and to whom are we speaking when we say pledge? What is this about? I know my own issues with that whole concept of pledging to a flag. And I too am very grateful to be able to be part of this. I've loved hearing what everybody else has to say. Look forward to hearing the rest of the artists.
Thank you so much, Stella. This has been a really great showing, and I love hearing all the inspiration that you guys have in explaining these pieces of art. We have now a student, Jalea Hardy. Jalea, are you here with us?
Hello, I'm Jalea Hardy, and I'm a sophomore at Mundy's Mill High School, which is located in Atlanta, Georgia. And I chose to participate in this exhibit because I was in art class where we did a lot of projects, and I would send those projects to my grandmother, who is Dorothy Rice, and she told me I should participate in the Black Lives Matter art showing. And I created the turtle piece because I consider that my spirit animal. And just like it took the turtle a long time and hard work to finish the race, it has taken us time and determination to get our voices heard and be seen. And the assignment was to create an animal totem using abstract, realistic, and non-objective art. And the butterfly piece is inspired by Andy Warhol's pop art, and to me, all the colors represent how we are all different but have the same structure. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jalea. What is your medium?
Oh, that's acrylic.
Okay, on both of them.
Mm-hmm.
The one on the left looks like it's composed of pieces of paper.
Oh,
Very
yes.
nicely done.
Thank you.
All righty, our next artist, Yaya A. Hargrove. Yaya, unmute.
I'm looking for Yaya. I don't see her in the
We
list
haven't
yet.
found her yet to tell us about sugar and spice and tequila and worship. Yaya, we'll give you a little while longer and then we're going to come back to you. Hopefully we'll find you. Let's move on to Lowry Hohen. Lowry, unmute, and you've got 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Are you able to hear me?
I do.
Yes.
Not seeing the picture, but that's fine. There are 2 pieces here.
Start your video.
It says it started.
Okay.
You have to go to the host, to the shared screen, the little button that says the share screen. That's where the pictures are.
I just asked you to start. You should just click OK. It should start.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, Lowry.
Well, it doesn't. You don't need to see me. Let's just look at.
Okay.
The piece on the left is called "Send These," and you can see some references there to the Statue of Liberty. And I think people will remember the poem that's on the Statue of Liberty saying, send these people to us. And the piece was originally conceived when the former administration was saying, don't send these, when he was cutting off entrance to the United States to people of various religious groups and geographic groups. Many of the countries in Africa he singled out as places where we could not accept any more people coming into America. But I think it also it speaks to our personal experience of bringing people into our own neighborhoods, our own places of work, our own houses of worship that are different from us, and the richness that we can all experience when we are a multicultural, multidimensional kind of society.
And tell me the significance of the birds.
Well, I use birds in a lot of my visual allegories. Actually, my husband just brought his computer over, so I guess somebody's seeing me. I'm just not seeing me on my screen. I make allegories that use animals and frequently birds as stand-ins for human influences. And the birds in this first piece are African starlings. And they're just a celebration of the richness and the color and the beauty of things, you know, that come from Africa.
Uh-huh.
The piece on the right has a ridiculously long title. It's called On the Breakwaters of a New Chapter. And I think that historically in America, we have formed sort of a harbor that has protected history in the way that, you know, frankly, white people have written the history. It's been a safe harbor for the way white people want to interpret our history. But I think we are on
What's that?
That's her time.
I think that's the timer. Well,
oh,
we're on the verge of being able to have a more honest history.
Thank you. We're going to have to move on to the next person. That's a very loud timer. Did we find Yaya Hargrove yet?
I haven't seen her.
Okay, we're moving on to Judy Holloway. Judy, unmute yourself. You've got 2 minutes.
I often use photographs as inspiration. The little girl in my painting comes from a photo I took many years ago in Bird Park of my daughter and visiting relatives. When the pictures were developed, I found I had accidentally included a child who was just walking by. While I was painting, I put the photograph of her nearby, and it made me wonder, where is that little girl today, and did she achieve her dreams? I want to stand beside my sisters of color to rejoice in the election of Kamala Harris for Vice President of the United States. Vice President Harris expressed it best when she said, "While I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last, because every little girl watching tonight sees that this is a country of possibilities."
Wow, that's very profound. Thank you very much, Judy. It's beautifully done. Beautifully done.
Thank you.
Our next artist, Jaraz Jenkins, please unmute. And you have 2 minutes.
Hello, how's everybody doing? And yeah, thank you for having me. These 2 works are paintings on the covers of sketchbooks. And I chose to work like this as far as painting on sketchbooks because I feel like the 2 subjects that I painted, these are, well, the guy to the left is a rapper, Nipsey Hussle, who was killed in 2019. And the guy to the right is Khalif Browder. He was a guy who was falsely imprisoned in Rikers Island for 3 years for a book bag he didn't steal. And it really messed up his mental health, and he ended up taking his life after he was released. But I felt like these guys are our modern day heroes because of the new wave of social media and phones capturing everything. Today is making modern people icons, and I really wanted to like show that traditional way by putting these icons on somewhat of textbooks that could be used to learn or even to study, and maybe younger children can see these guys and I don't know, celebrate them and look up to them just as much as I do.
Tell me about the texture in your work.
Well, I try to insert myself in a lot of this work because I too am, I'm Black in America, and I've been through a lot of things that are playing out in the news, like police harassment and stuff. So I use the texture as a way to signify the rough and tough life that Black people have to encounter just to survive here in America.
And Jaraz, is it just paint or is there something else that makes that texture?
Yeah, I grind up sand and sift it, and I use like a mixed medium to make everything stick together.
Very nicely done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we're going to move on now to Mr. Ray Johnson.
Looking for Ray.
All righty. We'll give Ray a little more time. And in the meantime, we'll move on to Jure Kittle. Jure?
Hello.
Unmute.
Hello. Yes,
There
I'm
you
here. It's Jerry.
I'm sorry, Jerry.
That's
Thank
okay.
you for correcting me.
My two pieces are photographs. They're photographs of graffiti at Marcus David Peters Circle. I've been going there since early June, and what I found there is, first I'll explain I'm a photographer, and my background is a career in graphic design. What I found at the circle when I first went, overwhelming and inspiring, not just visually the graffiti on the plinth, on the pedestal of the statue, but the community that is there. And so I kept going back with my camera. I've been dozens of times. So these two pieces are two of a very, very large body of work. Some of the examples are behind me here. As far as inspiration, what I found was when I took photographs that first time, I looked at them when I got home, and what I saw was, the statements, the words, the symbols, the expressions of outrage, anger, and love, and everything in between. But what I started to see was the graphic, abstract images between and behind the words and the symbols. And I thought they were beautiful examples of abstract art. So what I saw was the strokes and the splashes and the drips, which made me feel this connection to the people that made the marks to make this graffiti, their expressions of their passionate expressions to end racism and police brutality. So I could feel the strokes and the activity and the actions of these passionate people at this place, at this time, able to express themselves and have their voices heard. The other thing I wanted to mention about these pieces is each piece is the work of more than one artist. And the one on the left, that's probably 6 different people that contributed to this abstract composition. And so they unwittingly are collaborating. And my job is simple. All I have to do is see it.
Perfect.
And then I offer it to you in the hope that, and these words are written on the statue as well, that this time it'll be different.
Yes. Is this digital photography that you're using?
Okay.
Jerry?
She's muted.
Oh, she went away. Okay. Well, we'll move on then to Ron Lee. Ronald?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm feeling enriched and growth, abundance for having worked as a member of the steering committee and also to participate in the show. I chose the piece because it's my earliest piece that got me recognition as a professional artist when it was selected in a juried exhibition at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts in 1978. I'm a local artist and I'm a retired educator, and I'm also, Daphne, you'll be happy to hear, a fashion designer. For my description of the work, I'm just gonna follow what is on the website. It's gouache on BFK Reeves, which is a very thick watercolor paper. and I've written a poem to be the description of my title, which is Strive. So I will read the poem. I answered yes to the divine voice that said, create beauty from your divine inspiration. I answered yes to the mysterious force of nature that creates wind, light, and lightning. I answered yes to the questions that ask in various ways, what is it? And after yes, all becomes well in the whole world. And that is all. Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, Ronald. Thank you very much. We'll get together one day. Our next person is our grand hostess, Chantelle Lewis.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Reid. These are collages on canvas, size 30 by 40 canvas. And the piece on the left is called A Day of Togetherness. And it represents three important aspects of Black life, which are togetherness, unity, and harmony. The tree, which is made of cork, represents growth. And the many patterns in the clothes of the dancers, the very bold colors and patterns, is very common in African textile. The silhouettes are representative of the future and the past. So those silhouettes whose heads are looking up represents the future. And then those silhouette figures whose heads are pointing downward represents the past. And on the right, this piece is called The History of the Black Vote. This piece represents a timeline of history of voting for African Americans. The figures in this piece are symbolic for various times in history, which is represented by how they look and their style and their clothes. There are signs of voter suppression in this piece, such as a poll tax receipt. There's a flyer that says, let my people vote. And then the fact that the figures are actually standing in a long line to vote, again, goes back to voter suppression. And lastly, this piece reveals famous African Americans that ran for president and vice president. And that includes, I wanted to definitely for tonight's talking to the two women, which are Shirley Chisholm as well as Kamala Harris. So thank you very much.
Very well done, Chantelle. That's very, very nice. Our next artist is Linda Lowry.
Hi, I'm Linda Lowry from Alexandria, Virginia. Several years ago, I started painting portraits of young people of different ethnicities. This was my response to the racial divides that became so apparent during the last administration. Most of those portraits were frontal views of the face with neutral expressions on the faces. But last year, I started putting tears in my paintings. And this was a kind of a response to the horrific pictures we were seeing all year, the George Floyd killing and other instances of police brutality, as well as the inequitable way COVID-19 was affecting the Black community. So these people are quietly grieving with tears running down their face. Prior to doing this series of paintings, I did portraits of crying newborns. I love the raw emotion in the faces of those babies. And somehow putting tears in the face of these paintings brings those two bodies of work together for me. These pieces are painted in encaustic, which, excuse me?
Your sound is going a
These
little
pieces
funny.
are painted in encaustic.
Okay, keep going.
My Wi-Fi is not really great. These pieces are painted in encaustic, which is hot wax. I paint directly onto wood panels. And in the fusing process, in which you fuse or heat the top layer of wax so that it combines with the lower layers of wax, I completely melt the wax so that it's smooth and has a translucent quality. And I think this gives a nice feeling to portraits in the skin and particularly in the eyes. If you'd like to see more of my
very
work,
luminous.
thank you. You can see more of my work on my website, lindalowryartist.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Very luminous work. I see. I would never have guessed that was caustic, but beautifully done. Manuela Morao. Did I say that right?
You did. Manuela Morao. Yes. So, hi, everybody. My name is Manuela Morao. I'm really delighted to and grateful to be here tonight and to participate in this exhibition, and especially the message of solidarity that it fosters. I'm both a scholar and a visual artist, and I work by putting my scholarship and my art into dialogue with my experiences. So my work is usually conceptually related to my research interests and also to my life. This is the case with this painting, which is titled Say Their Names. For this piece, I used oil, cold wax, and encaustic over a collage of a series of images from the media, images about the pandemic and the social unrest that followed the murder of George Floyd by police on Memorial Day 2020. You may remember it was the same weekend also that the front page of the New York Times printed only names of victims of the COVID-19 virus. And I chose to juxtapose the pandemic and the protests in this painting because I found it very suggestive in both literal and metaphorical ways. For example, first, it documents how these two momentous realities, the pandemic and the Black Lives Matter protests, coincided in time. Second, it foregrounds how much their meanings continue to inform each other, especially the fact that the long-term isolation of quarantine was broken by a tidal wave of demonstrations against racism with solidarity at its core. And finally, the title of the painting affirms the importance of the act of naming in both documentary and artistic representations of these two simultaneous lived experiences. I don't have time to identify all the images that I've used to put this collage and painting together, and you can find that information on the exhibition website right underneath the painting. But
what size is this?
This is 18 by 24 inches.
Thank you. Very, very powerful piece. Thank you very much, Manuela.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ellen November.
I'm looking for Ellen. I don't see her in the list.
Okay, we might come back to her. We'll then go to Will Green with Paint Our Future.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Will Green. I'm the founder of Paint Our Future. I'm a native of Richmond, Virginia. And what in Paint Our Future do, we work with African-based artists only, and we sell their paintings here in the States, and all the proceeds go to an orphanage in Nairobi, Kenya that rescue abandoned street children. The two pieces that you see are both acrylic on canvas. The first one is a depiction of the Kehinde Wiley statue called The Rumors of War. And this piece was commissioned last January of 2020, before the Floyd, the gentleman killing that sparked the protest.
George Floyd, yeah.
Thank you, George Floyd. And so I had this wonderful idea. I reached out to the artist's name is Julius Boothie, and he's based in Nairobi. And I said, hey, Julius, it's this statue here in my town. So I had explained to him, Main Avenue, I had explained to him the Confederacy and the war and all those things. I said, hey, how about if we replace that Confederate general with Kehinde Wiley depiction of the young man on the horse with the dreadlocks and the Nikes? So little did we know that the protest was going to kick off a month and a half later. And now, the statue, the Lee statue is coming down. So that piece is titled Rumors of War, Part 2. The second painting you see there is the depiction of the Richmond skyline with the Starry Nights by Van Gogh. And we renamed that as we called it Scary Night. And it sort of depicts what was going on in Richmond during the summer when the unrest and the protests and from the police station. And that's what we're going to try to capture there.
You did a great job of it. Thank you very, very much. We welcome your input, and these are great, great pictures. How large are they?
24 by 36, and it can be found at www.paintourfuture.org. Thank you all so much.
Perfect. Thank you, Will. Our next artist is Shirley Paul.
Hi, thank you. I live in Charlottesville, and I've been watching what's going on in Richmond. Hopefully you've been watching what's going on over here. Lots of stuff going on. The one on the left is called When, W-H-E-N, and it's just evocative of the emotion of how it feels to be oppressed, whether it be by racism or by COVID or by the year 2020 or the prior governmental administration. Very kind of downtrodden, disappointed, sad kind of person. And the clock up on the wall there, it's about how long is this going to last, this kind of stuff. The one on the right is larger, it's 16 by 20. The one on the left is very small, 7 by 9. The one on the right is called Mourning the Murders. These are both in acrylic. And I work as an abstract or intuitive artist. I look to try to find the emotion in things that tell a story. The top half of the right-hand painting looks like a group of people at a funeral of somebody who's been killed, or possibly a protest. The bottom half, I try to get the feeling of joy, of togetherness. Maybe Juneteenth or a desegregation celebration where people show respect and unity toward each other and have fun together. So that's a contrast between the top and the bottom of that painting. The top being what we've been going through and the bottom more like what I hope we can get to. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shirley. And very nice work. Our next artist is Dorothy Rice.
Hello, can you all hear me?
We can.
Okay, I am a retired teacher, an active artist and poet. And I'd like to shout out to Delia, my granddaughter, and to my committee. I think you all have done a fantastic job, and the last few months have left me breathless. I have a poem that goes with the painting on the left. It's entitled Patty Quest. For the rest of her life, she will wrap her emotions in muslin burlap. He will reappear in thoughts, prayers, dreams. He will question, investigate. She will blame, feel shame, try to replicate, imagine more or less this moment painted in his embrace on canvas. This was inspired by my great-granddaughter and her father. I think the relationship between a father and daughter shapes the daughter's life forever. And this is the second time that I have shown this piece.
Thank you.
The piece on the right is a collage because I like to cut and paste. I save things. And one of the things that I saved was a coffee filter with a stain and a foil wrapper and pieces from other works of art. And when I put them together, they seemed to know what they wanted to be. So that is the collage that you see on the right. My art making began in earnest 6 years ago while my husband was in hospice and I was his primary caregiver.
Well, congratulations on some beautiful work and keep it up. Keep going. Keep going.
Thank you.
Our next artist is Brendan Yanu Rigdon. Brendan, unmute. Are you here?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now I can, yes.
Okay, great. Yes, in these two paintings, I've depicted Simon of Cyrene, the Libyan man who helped carry the cross of Christ. As a white Christian, I have lamented the way that popular paintings and drawings of biblical narratives replace historical people of color with white representations. The message in this art seems to be that Jesus was a white man with a message for white people. And the American church's history of silence in the face of racial injustice further underscores its misunderstanding of Jesus' teaching on the value of Black lives. In my paintings, I have tried to capture the Africanness of Simon as he carries the cross with Jesus. I hope others will be led to reflect on the ways that people of color continue to faithfully carry the cross.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention and getting the message out. You live in the desert, you're not usually a very pale person. Thank you very much, Brendan. Our next artist is Eric Robinson.
Hi, everyone. I am a Maryland-based oil painter, classically trained dancer, and portrait photographer studying visual communications at Virginia Commonwealth University. First of all, huge shout out to Miguel Carter Fisher for presenting me with the opportunity to showcase my work for the Black Lives Matter exhibition, and to Emily Smith for selecting my painting Reflections as curator's choice for identity. Reflections is a 24 by 36 inch oil painting that came to fruition during the beginning of quarantine, where there was a lot of course, self-reflection, as well as wanting to showcase my individual styles as kind of merging into one. The piece Dust next to it was actually part of a triptych that was made to showcase the discrepancies between different ethnicities that are showcased in the limelight. So, thank you.
You're a very talented young man. Keep up that great work.
Thank you so much.
Our next artist is Helene Ruiz. Helene, unmute. Are you with us? There you are. Now I can.
I'm a New York transplant, and I want to say thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. I'm honored. The painting on the right is called Scars of Injustice, and it was inspired by the African slave grounds when I first moved down here and saw that they were trying to build a stadium, and I was appalled. And I started a little protest over there. The painting on the right is called The Roaring Twenties, and I was compelled to paint that. And it's about the many lives unjustly taken because of ignorance and hate based on stereotypes, ethnicity, and skin color. The USA is a country the entire world has looked up to, wanted to run to as a land of opportunity, and now it's become a country where we probably need to run from. I acknowledge all who lost their lives by naming them in the street signs, who unjustly lost their lives at the hands of those who were supposed to protect us. So many that there was just not enough room. My feelings were so emotional, my tears are literally diluted in that paint.
Thank you. Is it oil or acrylic?
Both are acrylic.
Thank you. Our next artist, R-U-M-P-U-T, Rumput.
Thanks, Miss Reid. My name's Andy McGraw, and I'm a member of Rumput, which is a community string band that does shadow theater. So the medium is live music and shadow performance recorded and thrown up on YouTube. So this is I guess a still from that. So since the pandemic, we haven't been able to rehearse or perform together. So we've been doing shadow projects at home with my wife and kid, while other members of the group put music together online. So this piece, we put this together at the end of the summer when we were taking our son to protests and to Marcus David Peters Circle, and when his principal over at John B. Kerry was organizing marches. And so this piece was partly a family project intended to integrate what he was learning in a creative project. The piece is a setting of an old British Isles children's rhyme called William the Trimito that had been in my family and many American families for generations. The rhyme might have been a critique of feudal power when it was composed, but it's not really clear what it means anymore. But we reinterpreted the rhyme as a critique of the modern carceral system. And I had some familiarity with the Richmond correction system from my experience facilitating a music studio program in the Richmond City Jail since 2013, and from my own research and teaching at the University of Richmond on the connections between sound and policing and noise and race. And in the sessions in the jail, we'd sometimes talk about how music or music and cars could trigger proxy stops by the police, and that informed some of the imagery we used. And part of the music for this, the beat, was actually produced by one of the incarcerated members of the jail studio program, and we licensed and paid him for that work, and then integrated that with our parts. So that's it. I want to thank the organizers for putting together this important exhibit.
Thank you. And I'd love to hear the music played with watching this. We'll do that one day.
All right.
Our next artist is Zane Royal Smith. Did I say Royal right?
Yes, you did.
Welcome.
Thank you. This is a digital painting I made in Photoshop. And I just wanted to, I wanted it to not be something too dark since everybody's already upset. So I just wanted to focus on the beauty aspect. And so I chose traditional African clothing. And I just wanted to make it as colorful and happy as possible.
Tell us a little about yourself.
Oh, I go to school at John Tyler in Midlothian, and I'm 19, and I'm an illustrator.
Very nice work. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to tell us about your piece? What size is it?
It's 8.5 by 11.
Okay. It's a JPEG formula or something like that?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Thank you for joining us tonight, Zane.
Thank you.
Our next is Scott. Scott, tell me your last name.
Tillman.
Ah, thank you. I was putting too many letters in there.
That's fine. First of all, thanks for being here, Ms. Reid. We really are benefiting from you being here. So I'm incredibly proud of these two pieces that I have in the show. It's a very remarkable show and a very needed show. So I paint in a mosaic style of painting where I put irregular blocks side by side, and the gap between the blocks is actually the white gesso of the canvas showing through. And I've started this about 3.5 years ago. And these two paintings are in response to the Black Lives Matter movements, things that have happened in the last year. I was encouraged indirectly to participate in this by Keith McIntosh at the University of Richmond, who is encouraging dialogue about Black Lives Matter, and it should be recognized for that. And I title all my mosaic paintings in French. I don't speak French. Thanks to Bing, I'm able to do that. But one of the serendipities is when people look at the title and they don't understand it, they have to look at the piece to get their own, get their own opinion of the piece rather than what I want it to say. I use photos often as my inspiration, but sometimes things are just in my head and I just put them out on the canvas. The one on the left is called Le Monde Regarde, which means the world is watching. I painted that the week of the election. I was very worried that we were all red and blue. You know, there was no red, white, and blue. So I made the stripes in the air red, and blue, and I put big white gaps in the middle, hoping that we would all come together. And I knew instinctively that the Black vote was very important. So I made the Statue of Liberty a Black woman, and I knew that would change the vote. So that was my pre-election prediction. The other piece, yes, is say their names. Dites leur l'amours. I went to the monument right after it was turned into an art installation, and a young Black woman came up to me and asked me if I knew all their names. And of course, I knew George Floyd, Sandra Bland, Eric Gardner, Walter Scott. And she kept going, and I was there for 15 minutes of all the names of the people that had been killed or incarcerated by police unjustly. And so I felt compelled to do this piece. I used the graffiti style for the names that was on the monument. I'd used the brick wall behind George Floyd in his famous photograph to do the different colors of the world inspired by Martin Luther King. So once again, thank you very much for having my art in this show. It's a great honor.
Powerful. Thank you, Scott. Our next artist is Aaron Uzzle.
Hello. So thank you for having me first and foremost. So I'm a painter and I'm based in Hampton, Virginia. I was recommended by Miguel Carter Fisher to participate, so big shout out to him. These are both oil paintings, both 3 by 4 feet. I just try to make these surreal, otherworldly portraits of just everyday Black people in my life. So the one on the left is called Morning Sun. It's a portrait of my girlfriend. The inspiration is Sun Ra, the jazz legend, because he used to dress up in Egyptian garb all the time, and I just think that was the coolest thing ever. Yeah, and the next one is called Rose Gold Praises. I tried to, this is a portrait of my friend / neighbor. She was pregnant at the time. So the reason she has 4 arms is I try to make her like kind of like a deity-like figure. Specifically, I think Shiva of the Hindu religion had 4 arms, and I think that's it.
Thank you very much. And you said this is oils.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Very well represented there, these women in your life and these wonderful, wonderful portraits.
Thank you so much.
Our next artist is Janelle Washington.
Hi, my name is Janelle Washington. I am a self-taught paper cutter in Alexandria, Virginia, and I am a Richmond native. The 2 pieces I'm exhibiting in the Black Pastoral Gallery are Dame Dame, which is on the right, and Bese Saka, which is on the left. Through the simplicity of paper, I create my paper cuts to teach and to highlight the complex struggles and authentic beauty of Black people and Black culture. Growing up, I didn't see many pictures of Black women as queens, either historical or fictional, or in many positions of power. From this lack of representation, Dame Dame, which means intelligence, ingenuity, and strategy, and Besisaka, which means affluence, power, abundance, were created to display Black women in positions of power with grace and beauty. The staffs in their hands are the symbol versions of their names. Using a playing card format, I experimented with cut paper, colorful threads, and gold foil to highlight the Black beauty through their hair, through their patterns, symbols, and adornments. Thank you for having me.
Wow, great work. Thank you. I like those pieces. All right, our next artist is Blythe King and Dean Whitbeck.
Thank you, Daphne. This is Dean Whitbeck.
Okay.
And I am I'm a portrait photographer who works on large scale campaigns, International Rescue Committee, homeless coalitions. These 2 portraits that you see, the one on the left is from the International Rescue Committee. Our friend is a refugee, and she's from Uganda. And on the right was a portrait I took for Richmond Public Schools middle school campaign. I just want to say that much of my work has been driven, at least in the last 8 years, and inspired by the Black Lives Movement. I believe that movement over the last year has taken us from just not only a movement, but it's taken us from a consciousness to where all people, and I mean this, all people in the terms of vulnerable communities, people who are disenfranchised, people who live on the fringe of our society and culture can be seen and can live in a way that we all live. And so, and I was lucky enough to work with my dear friend, Blythe King, an extraordinary artist, and she'll take over.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Blythe King, and to me, these young women are models of strength, power, and complexity. I see a female potential or divinity in them, and I think Dean captured that in the photographs. And I emphasize this divine quality through the use of gold leaf. The circles can be seen as religious iconography, as halos, but they're also portals into the complexity of each of the individuals' lives. And these 2 portraits are part of a larger collaborative series based on the idea that when women come together, they change culture. And so our portraits honor the 3 women who came together to effect change by founding the Black Lives Matter movement. Alicia Garza, Patrice Colors, and Opal Tometi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there collage in that as well?
Yes, it is. It's
Okay.
Acrylic transfer, collage, and 23 karat gold leaf, and it's on wood panel. They're 24 by 30.
Thank you. They're beautiful pieces. Now we're going to go to our founders and see their work. Ann Rinn.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I want to talk a little bit about the piece on the left, and it's about Breonna Taylor coming into white consciousness. Well, I typically am a plein air painter, meaning I go outside and I paint what I see. One of the places that I really like to spend a lot of time painting outside is at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. So I was sitting there one day painting, and I was thinking about Breonna Taylor, and in front of me was a 20-foot high statue. It was Chloe. It was a white face, 20 feet high. And I thought, what would happen if that were Breonna? And so I thought, what the hey? I'm not going to use realistic colors. I want it to be vibrant, and I want to see what happens. So that's the piece on the left. And then the piece on the right is it's called Tribute 2. For an earlier show, I did Tribute 1, and in it, we have candles with the names of at least 75 people who have lost their lives at the hands of police. And at the lower right-hand corner, we have the Lee Monument. And we've all been waiting for it to be removed, and hopefully that'll happen in the near future. But I wanted to show a sense of hopefulness too in the figure on the left, in the diptych. The figure is raising its arms in tribute and in harmony towards those people who have valiantly lost their lives. And with the hope there is that the spirit will continue and that we will not become complacent in what has happened. We will remember what their lives meant, and we will try and work for change. So that's
Thank
all.
you.
You're welcome.
Beautifully done. Thank you very much for the founding of this event as well. And we're going to go to your partner, Jennifer Yane. Did I say that right, Jennifer? Come back, Jennifer. I know you're there.
I'm so sorry. Well, I'm thrilled to be here tonight, and the piece on the left is called Ever, and the piece on the right is called We Are Sent Angels. And racism is the central theme of our nation's history, and it causes a great divide in our country. And so the damage being done, horrifies, and there's a great need for healing. And my art speaks to the love that exists and to the healing that is happening. My art states that our Creator loves and adores all of creation, and that by witnessing this love through art, we can be positively affected by it. So I have been painting angels for probably half my life since I got into recovery from addictions, because I then started learning that miracles are real and that there's a reality beneath the surface. And I just want to acknowledge that other reality. Angels are messengers that give us hope and strength and let us know we're not alone and that amazing things can happen. So I just wanted to, bring that to the surface.
Well, thank you very, very much, Jennifer. And thank you to all of the artists who participated in this wonderful, wonderful screening that we have here. And there were curators who made choices for some things. But first, I'll tell you about First Friday coming up every month. The first Fridays, there are lots of events related to this art show and other art shows around. And on March 5th, Emily Smith and Frances Thompson are two local curators who will discuss the work from the online exhibit and their choices, which we'll show you in a minute, of the most representative artworks for each category. And don't forget to check out the Black Lives Matter RVA Art website for more information about the First Friday events. And you can get that at the address that you see at the bottom, sites.google.com/view/BLM-RVA-ART-2021/home. Did you get all that? Here are the curator's choices for each category. Injustice in America, Reclaiming the Monument Project, the Black Pastoral, Inspiration and Aspiration, Identity, In Memoriam, BLM Uncategorized, and Emerging Voices. Congratulations to all of these artists who were chosen by the curators. And I want to thank the steering committee for doing such a great job of setting this up and sharing this. Anne and Jennifer and Richard and Miguel, Eveline, Ronald, Chantelle, Michael, and Dorothy. Thank you very, very much for including me in this wonderful, wonderful exhibit. Keep up the good work. And also thank you to the volunteers, all those folks who did it because they love art. Raymond, Ian, Emily, Francis, and Virginia. Have a great weekend. I want to thank you to our partners. I am not going to call them out, but you can see everybody who is supporting this kind of project. And we take up time to personally thank anybody you know on this list. All these guys are very, very helpful and very, very supportive of what we're doing here tonight. And I'm sure they're very supportive of what happens every Friday, the first Friday of every month in Richmond, Virginia. Thank you very much for having me and allowing me to join you. I'm Daphne Maxwell Reid, and you can find me on my website. Just spell my name right and you got me, DaphneMaxwellReid.com. And thank you. Have a great weekend. Thank you all for attending and being part of this wonderful exhibit.
Thank you, Daphne.
Peace out.
Thanks so much. Chantelle, are you going to say a few words?
Yeah, and just to close out, I would like, and on behalf of the steering committee, we want to thank Ms. Daphne Maxwell Reid for doing such an awesome job tonight and volunteering her time just to be with us tonight. So we are forever grateful for the work that you've done for tonight's opening.
My pleasure.
Wonderful. And I also want to thank the artists because without the artists, we would not have an art show.
That's
so
right.
Thank you so much for participating in this show for this year. And then lastly, on behalf of the steering committee, we just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and viewing this event, as well as going on the website and checking out the art. So everyone have a wonderful night, and this will end our show.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.